Mm. Jimmy, I just resent it. I don't know what happened, but I just resent it. But what's up, y'all? Anthony Lee, A. Lee Real Estate. I'm back with a great IG Live to end the year. 2024 is coming to an end. We made it.
What's good,
Gotta
fam?
get my man Jimmy up here. I don't know. Jimmy, did you get the request? Here we go. I just resent it. There we go.
What's good, fam?
We got it. What's up? What's up? How
Hey,
are
man,
you, my
how
guy?
are you?
I'm good. I'm good, man. Sending hugs through the Wi-Fi. Sending hugs and dap ups and all that good stuff through the Wi-Fi.
Let me see. Let's check. Yeah, it's weird because on my end I can't see you, but I'm looking on the other phone. Yeah, it's good though. As long as you can see me, we
We can
good.
see you. Can y'all somebody drop a fire emoji? You can see me and Jimmy.
Yeah, and it's funny because I got the other phone where I'm looking at it and I can see you, but on the actual phone it's weird, bro. It's weird, but I got you though.
Oh man. Well, good to have you, man. Good to have you, man. Happy coming to an end of 2024.
Yeah.
How you making up?
Oh
And
man, I woke up this morning, man, so I'm great. I'm doing amazing, man. I got no complaints whatsoever.
that's what's up, man. I guess I realize I'm getting older. I'm learning to understand that what that really means these days, you know?
Yeah, man. Absolutely.
For
Absolutely.
sure. And a lot of people don't get to, make it to the other side, for different reasons. So definitely, learning to be what's what did he call it? I think he's grace. Did he say learning to
Man, listen, I call it just having gratitude, man. Just being thankful for every day that you wake up, man. Especially like you said, as you get older, whatever, you see people that, they're no longer with us. But at the end of the day, that once that happens, man, I had a basketball coach when I was a kid tell me that I was complaining about something, and he was like, "Well, did you die?" And I'm like, "No." He was like, "So anything that's wrong, you can fix." You know what I mean? And that's how I try to approach life,
for
man.
sure. Well, since you segued into that, I want
Hmm.
to start out with talking about, like you said, being able to fix things. And it's 2024. So
Hmm.
uh, what are we, a year and a half, 2 years removed from COVID
Yeah,
now?
yeah, about that. It's crazy. Time is flying, bro.
I feel like ever since COVID, 60 minutes is really like 30 minutes now.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So which leads me to, being that you are one of the financial leaders that we go to, we listen to, want to start out with COVID, money was flying off the shelf. They was giving it, they was printing it. Now it seemed like, you almost gotta know the combination and know the gatekeeper to find the money for 2024. So what is your thought on, the economy? What is your thought on just being able to live day to day these days, being that, they're not printing the money like they once were?
Hmm. I think it's interesting times, right? Because it never occurred to me. So I've been in finance for so long, like that's pretty much all I do, all I know is some form of finance, whether we're talking about the stock market, Bitcoin, real estate, whatever it may be. And I've been in this so long that I've been through multiple cycles. But it didn't really occur to me until having a conversation with like a mentee of mine, like certain people only really got into finance, whether it was through the pandemic or even several years previous to the pandemic, and they don't know about down cycles. They didn't live through 2008. They don't know about the dot-com bubble. So they don't know how to operate when things turn. And I'm like, wow, it didn't really occur to me that, we've been in such a boom type cycle that other folks don't even know how to operate. Because the fact of the matter is there's strategies and there's money out there in every cycle, but you just have to understand where you're at in the cycle and how to operate within it. So you're right. They did do a lot of printing and a lot of things during the pandemic, but those chickens got to come home to roost eventually. You can't print without having any sort of like
A real
any sort
product.
of reaction to it. Yeah, yeah.
Right. So being that, I mean, you said let's go back. So
Mm-hmm.
the last downturn was 2008, 2009, you would say?
Yeah, I mean that was something that was historic, right? So that's not even a typical downturn, but yes, that was the last time. Since then, we've been pretty much going one way. And there's a lot of people who thought they were geniuses based upon that, and now they're recognizing. Like I see a lot of folks getting out of real estate, they're getting out of finance, and they pastors now, they they little league basketball coaches because they thought that it was all them, and then they realized that, oh, maybe it's not all me. Maybe I'm not as smart as I thought I was. And it's not to say anything about anybody. But the fact of the matter is, to really be a professional in this space, you got to know how to operate in different capacities. It's easy to operate when everything's going one way.
Right. So now I guess let's just move up to 2020
Mm-hmm.
when the market started really picking up. Then COVID, it was the boom. And now 2024, inflation, limited inventory, and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
I guess, what would you say are the core principles to be able to just get through what we're in now, being that I guess this would be now the bottom of the next cycle, right? Would this be considered the bottom of the next cycle?
So a couple things there, right? To me, I think that the thing you got to focus on is never giving up, right? Because if this is something that you want to do, you got to stay in it. Like I think a lot of life is about a tolerance test, right? I don't think that so obviously there's different levels of intelligence, there's different levels of skills and things like that. But I think the biggest thing is those that give up versus those that don't,
Mm-hmm.
and figuring out whether this is really something that you want to do. Because if things get tough and you decide I'm going to go do this, did you really want it in the first place? You know what I mean? It's about figuring things out and being able to survive and stay in that space, and then understanding when things do turn around. You got to prepare. You got to prepare for like a bear prepares for when they got to hibernate. You got to prepare and start to save money. I think it's really about the fundamentals. One of the things that people got away from, because I'm online like everybody else, I see it like we got to run this play, we got to do this play, but the basics of just saving. When you save money, right, it's a difference, right? I'll give you an example. So I had I got a property. As a matter of fact, it's one of the properties that Lorenzo manages for me. And
Okay.
I got a call today, like the tenant's moving out or whatever, right? And and I was sitting there with someone when I got the information, the tenant's moving out at the end of the month. And like, man, ain't you worried about that? I'm like, no, I got reserves. Like, what are we talking about, right? So the thing is, understanding that when things are good, she's been there for several years. I'm stacking for when things aren't good, and that's something that you got to pick up. So if this is your first down cycle, you got to understand when things turn around, what you got to do. You got to have a game plan. To me, everything in life is math, man. So you can figure anything out, but you got to learn from things that you go through, and I think that's key.
Okay. And then also, I think the other part, like you said, just understanding that grit that you said, like being able to push through.
Yeah.
So even in the push through, just because I think the other part of being able to push through is understanding, like, yo, it's normal to have the ups and downs. But like you said, if you don't learn or make adjustments, that's when, all right, now it's kind of on you because you're not making those adjustments.
And you got to do your research. You got to do your history. Like, I'm gonna tell you why I say that, because when the rates went up a little bit and I saw people freaking out, I'm like, yo, the rates are low right now. Like, people got used to those, 2, 3, 4%. I'm like, those were extremely low, right? Because I remember, and when I got in the game, like, I was excited. The first house that I ever purchased, I remember I got like a 8 point something percent rate, and I was extremely excited because I got a sub 10, right? So I'm excited about getting a sub 10, but then I see people freaking out when the rates are up like 5, 6. I'm like, yo, that's still low, historically low. But
Right.
the thing is, if you don't know no better, you don't know no better. But that's why I said you really if you're going to get into a space, right, you got to learn to study. You got to learn to read. You got to learn to study. You got to know the history, and that helps you forecast what's going to happen. Not that everything that happens historically will repeat itself, but it can give you an indication of what's possible. So therefore, I think what it's really about is just like, if you're going to be in real estate, whatever that space is, because this applies to pretty much anything. You're going to be in the space, be in the space. Like, don't put one foot in. Like, really study, really understand what's going on, and then you'll be prepared for market cycles. You'll be prepared for anything that happens because you're doing your homework as you should. You know what I mean? If you're a doctor, you just don't do a surgery and then go home and then wait for the next surgery. Doctors work in between surgeries, right? They're always studying.
Right.
So what I'm saying is, If you're going to be in this space, I don't care if you're a lender, if you're a realtor, if you're an investor, take it serious. You know what I'm saying? You got to take it serious.
Right. And in that, I guess, like you said, the standards and understanding your numbers and the cycle and being prepared. That's the cool thing that I love talking to you about, because even in saving, you're even putting that savings money to use. So your savings is also making money, which is, you talk about saving and doing the Bitcoin or doing the high
Mm-hmm.
yield accounts. So can you touch on maybe that, and just for like the people who are just getting, not just getting warmed up, but,
Yeah.
trying to make better 2025?
All right. So for me, I am huge into Bitcoin. I've been into Bitcoin since 2016 at this point. So it's been about 8 years, going on 9. And I, in Bitcoin, we call it going down a rabbit hole. I went down a rabbit hole, fully studying Bitcoin. And the thing about studying Bitcoin is Bitcoin gives you a full education on everything from economics to politics to finance to education, everything. And what I started to understand, and I think most people approach Bitcoin the wrong way because they're just looking at the number going up. They're looking at it as an investment. And Bitcoin really isn't an investment, believe it or not. It's a savings technology. It's money. It's a different form of money. And once I understood that and I understood the value proposition of Bitcoin, I went full into it. And because real estate is my first love, I said, how can I combine these two asset classes to better prepare for myself? Just to give you a quick story, when I first got in Bitcoin, I didn't fully understand what I had, but I bought several full Bitcoins at the time, right? And I sold them in 2017 because they started moving so fast. Because when I first purchased Bitcoin, it was below $1,000.
Right.
Started moving so fast in 2017. I was like, whoa, what's going on? Let me sell this and take profit and go buy some real estate. So I bought a couple of rental properties that I still own to this day. Um, and looking back at the math, I actually would have been better off not buying the properties, keeping the Bitcoin, right? And even considering the cash flow, I would have been further ahead because, again, I sold multiple full coins to buy these properties. Now, I say that to say this. The one thing I did do is, like I just said, I continued to study. Why is this rising so fast? What is the value proposition? I see people saying that it's nothing, it's not worth anything, but something is there, and let me study it. Through that study, I got to appreciate it, understand it to the point now where I've went and taken classes, gotten certified within the space. I do a podcast weekly specifically about Bitcoin. And what I did was I kind of combined the asset classes. I thought about how real estate operates from a landlord standpoint, right? When I'm putting up for reserves, when I'm setting aside money. Most of the properties that I own in terms of my rental portfolio, and we could talk about that shortly, but I've kind of reduced my rental portfolio through using Bitcoin and other strategies, where at one point my goal was to get to 100 doors. I made it all the way to about 66 doors. I've went from 66 doors. I'm all the way down to right now. I got about half a dozen, and I have like a couple development sites. Tell you a little bit about that in a second. But I'm making more money with half a dozen than I did with 66. And some say that makes no sense, but I'm gonna tell you why. I was so leveraged, so over leveraged that my cash flow was next to nothing. Now I have properties that are literally, some are just paid off and they're kicking out, like, it's almost acting as if it's a minor itself. So I say all that to
Wait,
say,
wait,
that came through. Go
I
ahead.
don't know if they heard that. I need y'all to drop some fire emojis if you heard what Jimmy just said. And it's funny that you said that. I promise you, Jimmy, I can show you my text message for the receipt.
Mm-hmm.
Me was just talking about one of his properties.
Mm-hmm.
Single family property. It's rented, which is good through Section
Mm-hmm.
8. But he said between the taxes going up every year, the
Mm-hmm.
insurance going up every year, in addition to the difference between what Section 8 pays and a tenant paying, he said I was better off keeping my money in Bitcoin and some of these other things because it was less, that the headache itself isn't worth the
Yes.
inflation or the increase in some of these investment properties. And again, not all of it is, apples to apples, but he's just like, yo, I got my 9 to 5, like it's some bull crap. And then
Mm-hmm.
you say, because again, we all got in the game, wanting to have 100 doors, but like
Mm-hmm.
with the cost of mortgage rates, and I'm gonna just say, I feel like because most of us are doing this individually
Mm-hmm.
in partnership, with the banks, which most of us have to do starting out,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I can see why, like, yo, your 6 properties compared to somebody 50 properties probably cash flow more. Can I tell them, or you want to tell them?
Well, it's because honestly, I have less expenses than most people.
Go, all right, go ahead, open it up,
No,
because
right, so it's a couple things. It's less expenses. A lot of times when people get on, you get online, and you see people talk about real estate. They make it seem like it's just simple. They don't tell you about the difficult parts of real estate, right? Where you have to deal with getting permits, right? Getting lead tests, getting these things done. You have expenses. You have vacancy rate. You have to account for. Most people don't talk about expenses, right? Just like everybody is quick to count somebody's money, but nobody counts anybody else's expenses, right? So one of the things about real estate is it's about how you buy. But back in the day when I was trying to scale was before the crash actually, and they were just giving money away. So I was buying everything. And one day, and for those who don't know who I am, as a profession, as a training, I'm a real estate data scientist, right? So I still do work in the data scientist field, but specifically with real estate. So I've done everything in real estate. I'm a licensed realtor. I'm an investor. I'm done everything pretty much in real estate. But everything to me always comes down to math. It was data. So when I had all those properties, I sat down and I started crunching the numbers, and I'm like, yo, I own all this real estate. It's great for my ego, right? And that's the other thing we got to talk about. People like to show you how much they own based upon their ego, but when you get into their numbers, you ain't making no bread. You don't really have no money. Your net worth isn't going up because you got so much debt.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Your ego is inflated, but what are you really doing, right? So my point is trying to marry the two assets is where I came up with the idea of like no one is really talking about this. So this is kind of going to be my space because I realized that my reserve for replacement, right? All the money I stash, instead of keeping that in cash, let me keep that in Bitcoin. I'm gonna tell you what's happened over the last half decade or so. The money that I had as a reserve for replacement is now worth more for certain properties than the property themselves. So think about this, right? Let's say I have a property and I'm cash flowing $500,000 a month, but instead of me taking it and just leaving it in the bank, I'm leaving it in Bitcoin.
mm-hmm.
But Bitcoin is growing at a rate that's faster than the real estate. Now, two things I can do. I can then take that Bitcoin and use it to pay off the property. Now I have a free property that has no debt to it, right? And basically the property has done that by taking the cash flow and just going into Bitcoin. Now Bitcoin's growing at an exorbitant rate. The property itself is literally paid for itself. It's like a self-paying loan, right? And I know some people will say, well, now that the property's paid off, why don't you just refinance it and then allocate that capital, buy more property? So I know that's the old way, but the way I'm thinking about it, and I'm gonna tell you where I kind of got the idea, because again, everything is math. I would see these big corporations, and instead of paying dividends, they would do what's known as like a buyback of shares. And I said, let me dig into this. Why is Berkshire Hathaway buying back shares, right? Why are companies buying back their own shares as opposed to paying out a dividend to their investors? And the idea is if I can't allocate that capital in a way that's going to make me more money, it might be better off to put it back into the business itself. So if you own rental property, you're running a business. Now, if you look at it as a business, why not have a quote unquote a share buyback of your own? Right now, I could put money on the street, but what real estate deal is going to make me more than paying off that property and then having that cash flow, right? Do I want to go buy another building where I'm a cash flow $100, or do I want to pay this property off that I'm right now is costing me, let's just say $800, and I'm renting it for $1,200? Would I rather pay this off and now make $1,200 every month, or go buy another door? Just to say I have another door and then cash flow $100. It's all math. And I've done the math, and to me, looking at the market, looking at how things operate, it's like, all right, I get it. Now I see why they do share buybacks. I'd rather buy back my own because that actually makes more sense from an economic standpoint than to go out and just buy a bunch of doors that you see people online brag about all the time. I just laugh at it. Like, you ain't making no money though. And some of your favorite gurus, I've seen their sheets and they don't got no money, but I ain't gonna put that out there.
Well, yeah, all right, we definitely not gonna go down that rabbit hole, but I guess so. So you said a lot there. So I'm gonna just go back. One, I definitely agree with you about the ego, because the ego will have you moving quicker than you may be ready for, and you may move faster to your point and not be prepared prepared because like none of us, or I should say most of us, were not prepared for when the shift happened
Yes.
last year and the rates went up and, you know, everybody kind of went crazy because of the election time and different things. So, you know, everybody kind of had to pivot or figure it out. And normally, like you said on the internet, what you hear people say is, yo, just buy more properties. The next property will make up for the other property. But what you don't realize is, you know, that one bad apple really might cost you almost 2 to 3 bad apples for real,
Mm-hmm.
because you already got, you said got the interest rate. Then don't let a tenant not pay. It's just the downward, you know, spiral domino effect kind of thing.
Yeah.
And from there, you know, like you said, you always own that asset. So granted, you have options, but now you got to figure it out. And that's where it's good to have guys like Jimmy that you can talk to, because like you said, he went from 60 something properties to 20 something properties. So he's still standing. He's still, you know, fighting the good fight. He's just doing it differently.
Yeah. Because
And
again, like I said, it's all math, bro. Like I would rather have 20 paid off doors than like, 60, 70 leverage doors, right? But that comes through experience and through understanding. I know everybody has the goal of more, 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 more. But when you're scaling up, like, one bad thing happens and you're in trouble, right? You got to scale smartly. You know what I'm saying? Like, and the thing about it is going to bed at night owning a bank several $1,000,000 is kind of wild. Now, I know some people like that because they're like, what they going to do? I owe them so much money that I got leverage over them. But what I'm telling you is, if you just think about it and just look at the math, to me, it's all about math. Once you get out of your ego and you start doing the math, you can approach real estate differently.
so, but can you talk about, you just said something 2 seconds ago, Jimmy.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, the leveraging the doors, right? So
Yeah.
can you touch on maybe some of even these people who have these funds? Because like I've been getting around more people, they're preaching funds, they got these funds and they're buying properties in bulk. But like you said, I'm trying to figure out the math and I'm like, yo, you bought, and I'm more so thinking these guys are going after the equity play on the refi in bulk versus like, yo, if I buy these 10 cribs and I push them all together for collateral, now I got a million plus in equity. But we only into it for, 400, 500 grand.
So that looks cool, right? But you ever ask yourself this, and you're a realtor, right? You're a big time realtor, right? So I know you've been through this before, right? You ever represent somebody that's going through foreclosure, and the bank is giving them every every which way to try to help them save the property, right? That's one experience. The other experience that I know you've also experienced too is when you get around people that are private lenders or hard money lenders, and you talk to them, and they're like former real estate investors who own a bunch of doors, and you ever ask them why they got to on the other side of the business, it's because that's where the real money is, right? The real money is in being a bank, not necessarily owning a bunch of tangible property. It's actually in being the bank. Like, think about the fact that, let's look at something like Wells Fargo, right? Wells Fargo got all kinds of loans and money out on the street that people are paying them, and they don't have to deal with what you deal with in terms of
Right.
being a
Everything.
landlord, right? So it's really just about getting into a different space and starting to think different. When you use a different mental model, when you say, okay, I want to operate like a bank, and you look at what a bank really does. What does a bank actually produce or contribute to society? They're the consummate middleman, right? They're taking money at one rate and they're making a higher rate, and they're not dealing with anything that you have to deal with in terms of a property, which is why, they don't want to take the property. They want to just keep you on the books in terms of paying. And when you think about it that way, when you take the properties and you look at the math and you have a paid off door, all you're doing at that point is you're becoming your own bank. You know what I'm saying? And I mean, so technically you could say that you're doing the same thing with it being leveraged. But when you go through downturns and you have paid off property, you're in a whole different space than everybody else. A lot of these folks that got a bunch of doors, 80, 100 doors, I mean, the market could take a downturn and they're going to be in trouble, right? When you got paid off doors that you are in partnership with the government, when they're paying you Section 8, you're in good shape. And to me, it's just a math equation. That's really all it is.
But so all right, so let's stay there, right? So and I also hear what you say in regards to paying the properties down. And I guess like you said, it's almost the same as like, yo, if I'm taking my money and I'm putting it in Bitcoin, again, I'm still creating a nest egg of money without me necessarily physically having to go swing the hammer or do something. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so which is definitely, again, I would say eye opening or insightful. Um, but then I guess the question now becomes like, all right, Jimmy, how do we pay these properties down? Like, if you're an investor, I'm gonna just say you got two or three doors. Like, how are they paying these properties down?
All right. So a couple of things, and I saw the comment. 100 doors in a downturn sounds like they're ready to buy more for cheap. So it's possible, but most people I know with 100 doors, believe it or not, don't have a lot of cash to buy anything, right? Because if it's a downturn, you still. That's the other thing about real estate, right? Real estate is interesting because um, there's so much money tied into our bricks, but real estate historically was not really meant to be what it's become. It wasn't really meant to be monetized in the way that it is. It was really meant to be a place for shelter, but it's been monetized in a way that people borrow and borrow and borrow and borrow. And that's a whole other conversation. But the fact of the matter is, I know a lot of people with a lot of doors who can't even tap into the equity they have because either they had bad credit, a tenant moved out on them and they weren't prepared for it, so now they're behind on something like, so all those things. Imagine having millions of dollars and you still have to ask someone, can you use your own money, right? That's kind of what real estate is. I could have several $1 million in equity and I still got to go ask somebody for it. It's not liquid. The
Right.
strategy that I was talking about specifically and how I married the Bitcoin with real estate was once I understood that Bitcoin isn't an investment, but it's a savings technology. It's literally a different form of cash. It's money. It's hard money. It's the hardest money ever. And what I mean by hard money is it's the most difficult money that there is to recreate. The thing about dollars or dollars can be printed. We saw it during the pandemic. They print money whenever they feel like they got to print money, right? Bitcoin will only ever be 21 million, and you can't change that. You can't change that because it's wired into the programming. I run a node, I'm a miner, so I can see it that they will only ever be 21 million. And because of that, because of the scarcity, it's built to go up in value. So once I understand that it's actual cash, right, and it's not necessarily an investment, I'm talking about all of my money that I keep. I don't even have a bank at this point. I only have a bank to get money in from people, and then I transfer everything into Bitcoin. I've been doing that for years. I operate completely on a Bitcoin standard. I pay my bills with Bitcoin. I live on Bitcoin. That's why I laugh when people tell me that it's not possible. And I'm like, I've been doing it for years at this point. But because of that, my money is increasing in value when people's money is decreasing in value. People can buy less today than they could a couple years ago because once you really understand inflation, you understand why real estate prices rise. You understand why gas goes up, right? And I'm going to simplify it for you. Anytime money is printed by the Fed, right, the cost of goods and services will go up because more money's on the street. Therefore, the money that's already out there has less value. So it's not necessarily that the assets are going up in value. They're not worth more today than they were yesterday. It takes more of the same money to buy said asset. But I have something that's deflationary. So things are becoming cheaper to me. So all of the money that I put aside for repairs, for replacement, that I've been putting aside for half a decade into Bitcoin, just in case something happens to the property, I got to put a roof up. But now what happens is my money's gaining in value. I was putting that to the side when Bitcoin was 10,000, 5,000, 15,000. Now the money's just going up and going up and going up. The property is buying my Bitcoin because of the cash flow, but it's sitting to the side waiting for repairs. But now my Bitcoin is going up so much that I can just go pay the whole property off.
Mm.
You see what I'm saying? That's
Wait,
the strategy.
wait, Jimmy, you gave a lot of sauce right there. So I just want to, for us kids that was in the back of the classroom trying to figure it out, I'm gonna spit it back to y'all the way I understand.
Okay.
So literally, when the money is printed, the money is losing value, even though the cost of everything is going up. So you really can't even afford what the cost is for whatever it is you want. However, if you to put that same said money in Bitcoin, while everything else is rising, you're still creating money with that money. So now technically you can afford it because your money made money.
Everything's becoming cheaper. So here's the thing. And Bitcoin is my thing, right? So everybody might not be into that, but the thing that I want people to take away from this is you got to be doing something. Inflation is going to happen. The way to beat inflation is to own assets, right? Because assets tend to go up in value when inflation happens. So whether that's the stock market, or what I'm saying, you could be into index funds, ETFs, whatever it may be. If that's your thing, that's your thing. Bitcoin is my thing because I totally understand it, and I spend pretty much all day studying real estate and Bitcoin, right? And I understand a lot of parallels between the two. which is what helped me understand Bitcoin, is having a real estate background, believe it or not, because it's a saving technology, but it has a lot of the same attributes as real estate. Now, I say all that to say you got to be doing something. So when I talk to people about investing or saving now, I'm in a different space than most people, because most people are talking about buying things. They're talking about you got to get money to go do this or go to take this trip. I'm talking about survival, because the fact of the matter is, if you're not doing anything with your money, it's going to cost you more in 5 years than it does today to buy the same things. If you're buying $100 of groceries in 2024, in 2028, those same groceries are going to cost you much more. So if you're not putting your money to work for you, if you're not using your money as little soldiers or employees,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to have a problem. So for me, it's about having a response to what's happening out there, right? So do you have the responsibility? I look at different. Do you have the ability to respond when things happen?
So I'm also gonna say I feel like that's now, because groceries just a year ago, $100, like, yo, I at least had 4 bags. I'm probably a bag and a half now with $100. So like we already there. I'm hitting up my food stamp connect again, like, yo, what's up? But in that though, Jimmy, I think this is what we needed to hear and talk about, because for some people I feel like they're still in denial. Because even clients on my real estate side, it's like, yo, I want my mortgage to be this. And it's like, I don't think you understand what that mortgage is going to get you these days in these streets. Like, but again, if you'd have been doing something with that $800 mortgage payment, whatever it is, whether it's Bitcoin, high interest saving account, whatever it is, 3-4 years ago, you'd have been in position for your 800 that's now really costing you 1,200.
Absolutely.
For today.
But see, the thing is to learn from it. Now that you've seen it, understand that this is the way of the world. You got to do something. You literally got to do something.
So Jimmy, for the folks, and I'm gonna just, before we go back into the real estate part, for the folks that are looking to just be the everyday, hey, I need to understand how the economy is moving, what recommendation or show, podcast can you recommend, or app? And then for the everyday people, like, yo, I got $100 to my name and I need to do my best not to go spend it on some Christmas stuff. What app or where can I go with that $100 to try to make it make money?
So what I'll say is this, right? And not even trying to sound crazy. I actually create content every week. I'm part of so I'm the founder of Buy the Hood, which is a community organization, and we put out content all the time. But I'm also a member of what's called the Black Wealth Rebels. It's myself, the finance rebel Kamari, and Corey. We every Friday we do a live show. We actually give away Bitcoin every Friday, by the way. We've been doing that for years. I've probably given away at least like $10,000 to $15,000 in Bitcoin over the last, considering what it's worth now, because we've been doing it for years. So every Friday we do a live on our YouTube channel and Facebook page where we give away Bitcoin. And we talk a lot about macroeconomics, because the great thing about macroeconomics is when you look at the overall economy, you start to see how everything is connected. You start to see how decisions that politicians make affect what you're doing in the real estate game. See, a lot of people don't understand that all of this is connected. You cannot separate politics from economics, right? I see a lot of people talk about, man, I'm just going to get money. I don't care what they're doing over there. Well, that can affect you, right? I'm going to give you a quick story. Years ago, I'm a nerd, so I was figuring out how to create an online casino probably in 2006 or something. Like, it was years ago. So I had an online casino. The website was uptowngambler.com, right? And I built it to the point, and how I got away with it was I own the domain name, but the actual casino was operating overseas. And I would market the domain name, and I would do a breakdown with the company that was, had the service.
Right.
All right, to make a long story short, right? So I got it to the point, like during the football season, I was probably making anywhere between $1,000 to $4,000 every week during football season, because people was gambling on the site. And I got away with it because, again, it was overseas. I just own a domain name. Now, this is when George Bush was in office. So George Bush, George Bush got in office, and he, with the swipe of a pen, ended that whole business. One swipe of the pen, he made it illegal to do what I was doing. And I figured out just that quick, because what happened was so many kids started getting addicted to gambling back then that they actually changed the law. Now with that, now it's funny watching the fact that everything kind of flipped, and now you see none of the big corporations are doing it, you know. But that's another story. But the point I'm making is, in telling that story, is one swipe of the pen, my whole site was knocked off. This is something that was paying me anywhere between, you know, $1,000 to $4,000 to $5,000 every week.
Right.
It just was gone. Imagine just losing that, just being gone. And there's nothing that you did. It was just a political decision. That actually happened to me. And that taught me to me, all right, I got to really study how politics affects business. So I say all that to say, your question you asked about macroeconomics is, if you're going to be operating in any sort of business space, you got to know how things affect your business. You got to know how tariffs affect your business. You got to know how policy affects your business. You know, how your local politicians, how they affect your life, right?
Right.
So, you know, I say all that to say, you got to really pay attention to what's going on and just don't be distracted by all the nonsense you see on social media. So, I would say, you know, tap in. You know what I'm saying? Just tap in, like, and always give great recommendations in terms of books and ideas and things to watch. Shout out to Jabbar. Jabbar pulled up.
And again, if they want to get more tutorials and information, your organization is called By the Hood. And what was the other one?
Yeah, so By the Hood. So I got a lot going on, bro, but I'm gonna give you a breakdown. So By the Hood is a community organization. Our goal is to empower folks in the community, specifically within our city of Philadelphia. We do a free summer camp for the kids ages 5 and up. We teach them about finance, real estate, Bitcoin, the whole nine. In terms of creating content, go to blackwealthrebels.com, right? So we have a Patreon there as a free tier if you don't want to pay for anything. Our paid tiers, they get actual classes and things of that nature, but we do have a free tier just for our content. And we create content around the economy. Literally, it's around the economy, you know, but it's culturally relevant. And so that's blackwealthrebels.com, bythehood.com if you want to learn more about myself and everything I got going on. And hey, Lee, well, I got you here too, because I know last year, Inspiring Minds, me and you both like served the community by talking to the kids out there, right? So since then, I've been asked to join the board of Inspiring Minds. So I'm actually on the board of directors for Inspiring Minds.
Salute.
And in March 8th, we got another conference coming up. So I'm in charge now of putting all the finance people together. So I'm going to ask you live on air. You're going to pull back up.
I love it. You know, well, I'll never tell. I never told Andrea no anyway. As long as my schedule permits, you know, I'm always there.
Nice.
So I'm putting it on my schedule now.
March 8th, bro. Just put March 8th. Just check out March 8th. Let me know, man. Because, you know, I got to, you know, find, you know, 6, 7 people that, you know, want to do it. And, you know, listen, I've seen you in the streets helping the people, man. That's one of the reasons why I rock with you. Outside of just the business and real estate talk is that you put on for the community. Outside of that, I've seen you at other community events. Like, you know, I mean, you and Lorenzo are 2 brothers that I've seen out there. I see a lot of people online who talk, but I don't see a lot of people who do the community part. And that to me is inspiring, you know, watching y'all brothers do that. So I appreciate you for that.
No, I appreciate the plug for that. I'm putting it in my calendar. So I do remember, because that was the same time it was last year down Penn.
Yep. Is that Penn this year? We're doing it at Penn again, right? Yeah. So we, you know, put on for the kids, man, and help them, you know, get the information at a younger age so they can be ahead of where we are.
I got you. Well, look, I'm putting it on the calendar now. Just let me know details when y'all get it.
I got you.
Because that was, I remember I left y'all and then I went and coached. We had a game that day, so then I had to leave y'all and didn't go to the game. So I appreciate that. And speaking of helping the community, this Saturday, if you don't know, we're doing a toy drive for the community at Tustin Rec Center from 11 to 3 p.m. Tustin Rec. Bring your kid. Your kid has to be present with you. We are giving each kid, I believe, like 2 toys or 3 toys for them to pick. When you come find me. I'll make sure we take care of your kid. And then we got like toiletries and essential items for the adults and for the household.
See what I mean?
Yeah, at Tustin from 11 to 3 this Saturday. So like you said, we really out here trying to help the people. I mean, and like I said, it's tough because I'm just helping my clients. Like, I know people need help. And I mean, for some folks, unfortunately, the information of financial literacy just does not click sometimes. But in the meantime, like, yo, at least we can bridge the gap to you know, to take some of the pressure off. And hopefully with them staying in the environment and following us, they'll be able to, at some point, you know, it'll catch for them.
Yeah, man. Everything happens for for a reason, and everything people pick up on things at different times, man. But as long as you're consistently putting the information out there and trying to help the people, man, like you're doing God's work. Because here's what I tell you, man. Um, I salute you and everybody else that comes from that standpoint of community, right? Because and the reason I say that is because we need more of us. A lot of times we get caught up in our bubbles, right? I could pick the phone up and call you or call Jabbar, call Lorenzo, like you know what I'm saying. But we are in our bubbles. But when you get outside of those bubbles, you start to realize just how people are struggling, how some folks just don't have it, man. Like, so my thing is get out of your bubbles, but we need more soldiers on the front lines trying to help people because, specifically people that look like us, man, because it's tough out here and people are struggling.
For sure, for sure. And I mean, honestly, to your point, I feel like that's also what makes our business good, the good and bad.
Mm-hmm.
Because like, yo, they fighting for their lives, so they probably not paying rent.
Yeah, man. Listen, man. Real estate is honestly, and this is what I tell people. It's debatable whether real estate is the greatest investment. But to me, real estate is the greatest business. Because the one thing about real estate is if you get into the real estate business, you will learn about management, you will learn about accounting, you will learn about finance, you will learn about marketing. There's no better business than real estate. And also what you learn through real estate is how real estate affects everyone's life, good,
Mm-hmm.
bad, or indifferent. And the thing about that is, historically, real estate has been used as a tool of oppression. So the way I look at it is now is to be used as a tool of empowerment. When you study the history, and it's a nasty history of real estate, when you talk about redlining, appraisal bias, when you talk about lending, all the different things that has happened in real estate, but now you're on the front lines. Your team is on the front lines. You know what I'm saying? Like my team's on the front lines. We have the ability to get out in front in the community and use it as a tool of empowerment. And that's why when you ask me to come on, I'm like, man, I'll pull up for you anytime because I've seen you out there, right? Some people talk about it, but I've seen you physically in the streets with the
Right,
people.
right. So, and again, definitely appreciate that. So I definitely got y'all on schedule for that. But also, so segueing though, Jimmy, not a smooth segue, but I'm a segue.
Let's get it.
When you talk about the 60 door piece, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like you're on your way up, and this
Mm-hmm.
is more so on the, I guess, well, I won't even go there, but just on your way up though, and not having, but making that adjustment going from 60 to 20. Like,
Mm-hmm.
how do you make that adjustment, or how do you accept that, yo, it's better to be at 20 than to be at 60?
Having to pay out six figures in mortgages to do that to you, right? But even beyond that, to me, again, like I've been saying throughout the entire time we talking, like everything to me is a math equation. So when I just sat down, cracked open a spreadsheet, put in all my doors, put in the rents, put in what the actual expenses were, I'm like, something isn't right. You know what I mean? I've been lied to. I've been bamboozled. Like everybody's telling me to acquire. And then I used to go back. I don't even know if this is still around. Jabbar might know about this. It used to be back in the day before the internet became popular. It wasn't a lot of places for investors to kind of get together. But it used to be a thing called Dig,
Dig?
Diversified Investment Group. You remember Dig?
No, Dig is still around. I'm a
Oh,
member
it
of
is?
Dig.
Okay,
Dig is
I
around.
don't know. It's so many different ones now that I didn't know what Dig was still around, but Dig was around for a long time.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I remember going to Dig and I would talk to the people who were considered at the top at the time, like some of the top of the people in the food chain, and they were all getting out of the rental business, but they were going into hard money. And I'm like, what? Why y'all getting rid of all y'all doors? And then, to me, it's really about just reading and studying. And I'm like, okay, I'm playing the game the wrong way. Some of them are getting rid of their doors and they're selling them to me. And it's like, I'm buying your doors and you're getting all your cash out and just lending cash. I'm like, all right, I got to figure this out. I got to figure out a strategy that works for me, which is important to say too, because everything that you see people do may not be the thing for you. For some people, 100 doors might be their thing if they figure out a smarter way to do it, right? It's just that for me, and especially like when you get older, you want less stress. You know what I'm saying? I don't want the phone calls like, yo, I had a lady call me one time. I had a property on 12th Street. Lady called me, like, yeah, older lady too, beautiful lady. She was always going time with her rent. And she's complaining, I need your help. I need your help. Give me to change a light bulb. I said, change a light bulb. But anyway, I digress. But I'm saying the point is, I'm trying to be like, get rid of some of the stress, but also just be smart. And to me, it's all about the math. If you purchase right and you bought properties for next to nothing, then maybe having scaling up that way might work for you. Don't just take my advice and say, I'm gonna do what he does, but figure out like what works for you. You know what I'm saying? So working for you might be 25 doors. It might be 10 doors. It might be 5 doors. Where would your life be if someone that came before you left you 5 paid off properties?
Ooh.
Just 5,
And I'm saying
right?
at least a G a crib, at least.
Yeah. Now think about if you start, before you go to work, before you do whatever you do, you got 5 grand already coming in. Like, see what I'm saying? Like, so to me, a lot of times we're looking at the number of doors and not necessarily how we buy the doors or what the cash flow is. And to me, that's more important. It's more important to buy smart and have a smaller number of doors because again, I'm just comparing myself to myself. I don't compare myself to anybody else, right? Comparison is the thief of joy. I know what I was making when I had 66 doors. And I know what I make when I have less doors than that. And I make more money with less doors, but now I have less debt and more income. So for me, it's really just about the math, man. And other thing I would like to leave like your folks with is like, yo, just stop comparing yourself to other people. Figure out what works for you and do that.
Mm. And be okay with being you. It's
Be okay.
okay.
That's your superpower is being you. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes you go online and another thing is folks be out here trying to be people that got less money than them because a lot of these folks be lying, bro. Like I'm only speaking from experience, man. I'm speaking from experience. I've seen folks online who got 6 figures in followers and they like, yo, I'm facing foreclosure. Can you help me? And it's like, yo, you know what I'm saying? Like, yo, you anyway. But yeah, man. So just be happy being you, man, and figure out how to, have less debt and just, be happy, man. Shout out to
Right.
Dude, man. Yo, Dude is one of my favorite guys too. I'm gonna tell you why. Because Dude gets busy, but every time I see him online, he like posting up jokes and stuff. He don't even talk about real estate, man. That's
No,
my guy.
yeah, he uses real estate as his dark humor. I mean, Instagram dark humor place. So he could tell everybody what he be thinking without having to really tell them. So it's like, yo, I reposted something
Yeah, I'm trying to
like
get like Dude, man. I'm trying not even like, yeah, I'm trying to just get into a place where I just use it for dark humor, man. But it is what it is, man. So
right.
that
No,
that that's what it is right now. And moving into 2025, man, I say like, hard workers for suckers. Work smart.
and and also get you some advisors around you that
Absolutely.
like you said that are smarter than you because it'll help in the process
Hmm.
and have some experience. So and again, that's where like I think for me for 2024 it's been a lot of not necessarily
Hmm.
networking but really building the relationships with the folks that have done different things or have set up certain things that and are still standing and moving and shaking good, better, and different of the economy.
Hmm.
Because I definitely and I'm not going I think don't not I think but I know during COVID it was shiny object syndrome.
Yeah, yeah. No, absolutely it was. No, absolutely it was. Like I've seen the phases, man. Like, and it's funny because I've seen this before. Like being in the game for so long, I remember when 2008 happened, man. A lot of the folks that was before then, like so, being a quote unquote guru or real estate person before them was a little bit different because you had to like really be outside doing it. It wasn't a lot of online stuff, right? But I remember even, I'm aging myself, but it is I'm old and washed. But what I'm saying is I remember folks on MySpace selling property, right? And I remember when '08 happened. And next thing I know, man, cats is preachers. You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of y'all went to church, like, went to the church, man. So but I ain't gonna put y'all out there because. But I'm just saying, like, you'll see a lot of people just making the transition because they can't really deal with it. But a lot of it is because of how they behave when things were good. And in COVID, you saw a lot of the shiny object syndrome, right? People was going through trucking, they was going through
Oh,
Amazon e-commerce, like all the things,
right.
right? And it's like, you can, it's not that you can't make money in any of those spaces because you can. And I know people that make money in every one of those spaces. But the fact of the matter is you can't just be scatterbrained all over the place. You actually will make more if you focus, hyper focus, right? I'm gonna give you an example, even as it pertains to like the stock market. I'm so hyper focused. I only have a couple of holdings now because I want to make sure that I fully understand what I'm investing in and what I'm doing. So you can't just be all over the place, man. You can't be all over the place. Even in real estate, right? I have an approach to being an investor that a lot of people don't because most people want to buy huge multifamily properties and that does work, but it's just not my thing. I purposely, intentionally buy single family, 3 bedroom, 1 bathroom homes and fill it up. That's all I do. Like I don't even buy multis, believe it or not. Like I just don't. You know what I mean? Like because I'm so hyper focused and I understand that to the point where if something goes wrong, I know how to take care of it. When it comes to purchasing, I know how to do it, right? And I know that goes against a lot of what people will learn in these classes, but I believe in focusing in small spaces and becoming like a master at those things. That's what I believe in.
Um,
And to answer Marlon's question, yes, I caught those spy puts. I also caught some 592 puts today, by the way. But you know,
that's that by the hood talk. Y'all talking that by the hood cold talk.
yes, sir.
Drew said people want to they want to run before they want to run before they walk.
Yeah, man. Like man, he said a word right there because you got to take your time and build to this, man. And that's another thing. You be comparing yourself to somebody that, you know what I mean, got 20, I mean, 15, 20 years in. Like, you know, it's nah, man. You gotta learn the game, man. Because the thing is, it's really about the journey. One of the great things about real estate and if I would say finance in general, because I've pretty much studied everything in finance. One thing of the things about it is how it changed me as a person, right? And I would say that's what my 2024 was really about getting to a place of gratitude and just appreciating what I do have, right? And really working on like 'cause to me, finance is really more about mental than anything else. So I'm in this space right now where it's really about just being grateful for what I do have, man. Because again, when you get outside your box, and I try to force myself outside the box, you know what I mean? Even the folks that's watching this now, we know that for a lot of folks watching this now, a lot of us are doing okay. When you get outside our box, bro, specifically in this city.
Keep going. Why you
Yeah,
stop?
no, I thought you were saying something. No, what I'm saying is when you get outside the box and you see how people are doing financially, how people are struggling, people are behind on their rent, they're behind on their mortgage. When you get outside the box, man, you start to really, really appreciate what you do have. And that helps you to not even compare yourself to somebody else that you think is doing better. It really isn't.
Right.
Um, because it's really about being yourself and being grateful for what you do have, man. And there's still a lot of opportunity out here, specifically within our city. Because again, from my studies, I look at things from a macro and a micro level. When I look at things from a macro level and I see what's going on specifically within the Northeast, in terms of real estate, we still have a lot of opportunity in Philadelphia. So, you know, it's not as plentiful as it was a couple of years ago because, you know, a lot of y'all got it. But I'm interested to see 2025 too, A-Lee, because what all the wholesalers going to do?
I ain't gonna lie. I feel like they still going wholesale.
I mean, you know, they better not get caught wholesaling.
But I mean, so maybe I got to get more in tune with it. But and we can talk about
Mm-hmm.
it because I thought they already needed their license.
So that's the thing. A lot of them didn't get it, but now it's on the clock now. I think they put the date out. I saw something come across yesterday, like
Yeah,
January, whatever the day is.
2025.
Like,
But even in that, like, who's to say I'm a wholesaler? Like, I could,
so
I could.
so how it's supposed to work, and again, we'll see how it's supposed to work, is the title companies are going to have to kind of like police it. And what'll happen is if you get caught not doing it, they're making a penalty such that, you know, they're trying to tap people's pocket.
So, so I guess now the title companies are gonna have to lose money to keep everybody else honest.
So here's the thing, kind of like if you're so think about it this way, um, they're the ones who the title companies are the heroes of the wholesale game anyway, especially if you try to do like a double close, right?
Right. The
But
few do the so game. Yes.
yeah, but now, and from what I understand, and this is what I was reading, right? You got to see how it plays out. They're going to be like trying to set folks up, like, yo, they're going to have people like literally trying to go through the process to see if you'll let them do it and hold you accountable for it. So if a couple people get made example of, it's going to be problematic.
I was
You know what I mean?
it was almost like the real estate brokerage, like because like so for the title company, they're going to be held by a certain standard, like a brokerage is held by a standard, and if you get audited now, you getting audited because of the people you was letting do what they do in your office.
Yeah. Yep.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm.
So I think it's going to be interesting, man. The real estate game overall is a lot of because of legislation, and again, this goes back to my earlier point, right? Understanding how legislation can affect your actual business. Imagine being a big time wholesaler who's built up this wholesale business over the years, and now it's like boom. Either you got to get a license or get out the game, or partner with an agent that understands investing. That's the other thing. Because the thing about a wholesaler is a lot of wholesalers have a good skill set of finding deals.
Right.
So, partner with someone that is licensed, you know what I'm saying? Like, so but I'm just saying, like, I think the game is changing and we got to really stay abreast of what's going on around us.
For sure, for sure. Because now, like you said, now you got me thinking that now a couple of the wholesale folks, they going to have to call me because they ain't need me. Now they might need me.
There you go. New stream of business for you
Hey,
right there.
like you said, I not necessarily diversified, but how can I stretch my dollar? And that's one way I'll be able to stretch my dollar without.
Yeah. And again, don't get me wrong when I say diversify. It's okay to diversify within the same space. What I'm saying is, like, because think about it. There's this old adage out there that every millionaire got 7 streams. But if you actually study that and look at the data, most of the time they're streaming within the same space. You know what I'm saying? Like, so let's use real estate. You know what I'm saying? They may own a mortgage company, a title company. Like, they're within the same space. I'm talking about folks that just be out there, like you said, shiny object syndrome, who all over the place. Like, that's what I'm talking about.
For sure, for sure. No, definitely appreciate it. So, question for you: what events do you guys have coming up? What do you have for the people for 2025? I would just say for quarter 1. Like for
All right, so one of the things I'm working on now is something that we used to do back in the day. We used to actually do this pre-pandemic, and we really haven't done it since the pandemic. We used to do what we call, cash mobs, where we would pick a black-owned business, we would pull up at their business, and we would set up events like literally at their business where everybody supports this one business for this one day. We did several of them in Philadelphia, and actually helped a couple businesses stay in business by doing so. We're trying to bring that back for 2025. So we're looking at having our first quarter of 2025. We're probably going to pick a black-owned restaurant and set up an event at the restaurant, do like a live podcast or something, and everybody just, spend some money with that business, and then we take it from business to business to business. That's something that we're going to bring back for 2025 to be fully outside and do some of these cash models, because supporting black-owned business is something that's near and dear to my heart. And a way to do that is, let's just have an event at this place. Everybody spend a couple dollars, and a lot of times with these smaller businesses, that can like literally change the trajectory of what they're doing, because
sure.
especially if they have a good service or product, you bring 30, 40 people there, they're going to come back. You know what I mean? And so that's kind of one of the things that we're looking forward to first quarter 2025 is bringing those back, and, just continuously building out the community, building out the village, man. Salute to everybody who's like, within the community, to buy the hood or the Black Wealth Rebels community, because we have a dope community that always shows up for us and, supports everything that we got going on.
That's what's up. That's what's up. Okay. Well, definitely looking forward, man. Hopefully, maybe we can collab on something in addition to the
Yeah, absolutely.
But no, definitely always appreciate your insight and wisdom, man. Definitely good to see you, moving and shaking, 2024 and beyond.
Yes, sir.
We'll definitely, be in touch. Definitely appreciate you. But wait, I almost forgot before I let you go. If you could give right now, outside of your podcast,
Mm-hmm.
a podcast, a book, and maybe a site to, I guess, put your money into, like to look into about investing your money.
So the first thing I'll say is this, right? If you don't have any money saved, first thing I'll say is before you get into investing, just save a little bit of money, man. Save a little bit of money. The first thing is, and I know people like to say, well, save 6 months of income. Before you even get there, save $1,000. Work on the fundamentals. Let's get back to the fundamentals, man. It's saving literally saving $1,000 before you scale up. Listen, I'm gonna tell you something that's true, right? And this is, again, my personal experience. I don't chase other folks. I've been in real estate at this point for 27 years. Since I was a teenager, I've been in real estate. 2025 will be my first year doing a ground up construction, right? And people say, man, why didn't you do that? Because I was so comfortable where I was, but now I'm getting outside of my comfort zone. And also because, again, the strategy of having paid off properties, I've said, well, that's why I told you I had a couple development sites. So I'm doing a project in Germantown now. I already got my plans and everything drawn up. So 2025 is my first time doing ground up construction.
Congrats.
Yeah, I appreciate that. But I bring it up to say is that it's really about a journey. So the first thing I would do is, before you get into stuff like that, or even Bitcoin, or even, all these other things, save $1,000. If you're already beyond that part, right, there's some other things you can do in terms of studying, right? Because I wouldn't ever tell anyone just to jump into Bitcoin. You got to study. If I recommend a book, this is the book I would recommend.
Okay.
I got a library over here, and I probably have about 50 Bitcoin books. But I'll say out of all of them, this book right here is called the Bitcoin Standard. It's by Saifuddin Amus, and what I would say is this is probably the best book to understand Bitcoin. And they do have it on audio book as well, so you can get the audio book for those that like Audible. The Bitcoin Standard. I would recommend that as a book. I'm a huge podcast guy, right? So first of all, stay in tune with A Lee's lives because A Lee always got the power players on here. So I feel honored to even be here, man. But like I
Appreciate
said, man, go check out our content. But other content, man, there's so many great content creators out there. I'm trying to think of something that everybody knows the popular ones. Everybody knows the EYL, Wall Street. Everybody knows them. I'm trying to think of someone who creates a lot of great content that folks don't know about. It's specifically in the finance space because there's so many of them, man. But what I'll say is this: follow me. I'm gonna start. Matter of fact, I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna put out my favorite content creators, man. So just follow me, and I'll make sure you guys get that information, man. But in terms of a book, the Bitcoin Standard, and in terms of a strategy, just save your first grand, man.
Okay. All right. Well, definitely appreciate it. And for the only thing I would add to that, for those who might need to get the money out of their hands, find you maybe a virtual bank like Capital One 360, or somewhere else that you can, send your money out. So again, you're not quick to
Yeah,
touch it.
Ally has one too. I mean, if you got an iPhone, go and set up the account and get like they paying like close to 4%, right?
Cool.
Right in the Apple Card. You got an Apple Card, you could open up a savings account right through the Apple, right through your iPhone, and they paying like close to 4% right there.
Hold up.
Another one though, right? Another one, and if anybody interested in this, hit me up. I got one that's the FDIC insured bank, and you put your money in, it pays you about 4%, but the interest it pays you interest in Bitcoin. So think about this: it's FDIC insured, so you can just sit money there, right? So let's just say you got $10,000. You put $10,000 there, it's going to pay you close to about 4%, but it's not going to pay you in dollars. It's going to pay you in Bitcoin, which is itself is going to do what it's going to do. So anybody interested in that, shoot me a message and I got you.
You got me. I'm on now.
No, it's not Strike, Marlon. I got something else. It's not Strike. Strike, don't do that. Marlon, shoot me an inbox. I got you.
No,
I got you.
Marlon holding out. Yo, Marlon about to get blocked and kicked out all the group chats. Marlon holding. See, now ever since they gave you that new name, Marlon, you've been acting different, boy. Come on, Marlon.
No, but it's not Strike though. I got you though. Send me a message. I got you, man. But that's for someone who's interested in that. Like, so that's not something. The thing is, you got to learn to make money while you sleep. That's the key to all of it, right? No matter what you do, you got to be able to make money while you sleep, man. Because eventually what happens is, like I teach you in The Richest Man in Babylon, another great book, by the way, that, a part of everything you make is yours to keep. And as long as you keep stacking on the side, eventually it's going to out earn you.
Well, look, on that note, Jimmy, you gave us enough game, enough blessings tonight. Again, definitely appreciate you. I'm gonna download this and send this to the YouTube page as well. So I'll send it to you once it's up and running, so you also can share it. But
Yes, sir.
definitely,
I got you.
man, definitely looking forward to 2025. And that was my main thing. Like I was trying to get you on here, and I was supposed to have a couple more people throughout the month, but it didn't work out. But I definitely wanted to end the year with these kind of conversations because I know again we got Christmas, we got New Year's, and for overall everybody's business this year, I feel like some people's business grew, some people's business stayed stagnant. Well, same. But I know for a lot of people, just in general, numbers are down this year. So again, like Jimmy said, it's okay. We all got different challenges, different battles, but are you in it to win? Are you in it for the long term? And I think that's the key to be able to really keep pushing because I do feel like something amazing is going to happen in 2025. But the question is, are you prepared? Do you have the people around you that are going to go to war for you when it's time to go to war? So I think that's the other thing about aligning yourself with the right people and the right crew. Because it's going, and especially like Jimmy said, some of these cats, they got all these doors, but they need to move and shake. So, they're going to be calling and trying to figure it out. And, there will be opportunity. So, let's connect. We're here. Again, don't forget, like I said, this Saturday at Tustin Rec Center, we got the holiday toy drive coming up. from 11 to 3 p.m. And then also, I don't know if you saw, Jimmy, we've been doing a men's meetup for all the business owners and people in real estate, just men, talking about our mental health, talking about relationships and
Oh man, yeah, send me the invite for that. I haven't been online a lot because man, I got so much. I gotta listen. I gotta close in tomorrow morning. I got so much going on, but send me the invite for that. Because I definitely like to pull up for that and support, man. You know, anything I could do.
So it's funny, we just locked in our next date, so it's going to be January 25th. Put that on the calendar.
Got you.
Friends only event, ladies. Don't be mad at me. Don't be mad. But I'm trying to get the brothers and get the village together because, like I said, we going to war in 2025 for our families and for our legacy. So that's going to be January 25th, and our goal is to have it at the cigar bar down there on Delaware Avenue.
Oh, I'll be there.
Yeah,
I'll be there.
yeah, so it's gonna be a good situation. A little whiskey, couple cigars, you know, and some good food. And we also have a special guest, which I'll leave for when the flyer comes out. That's gonna curate the event. He's a licensed therapist, so like we really gonna have the heavy hitters there for that one.
Yeah,
You know, it
yeah.
won't
I'm
be the
looking.
block.
Yeah. That's dope. I'll definitely be in the building for that, man. I appreciate that, Ali, man. If anybody out there, go to blackwealthrebels.com, join our village. We got a free tier, where we kind of like curate all of our content there, culturally relevant. We talking about Bitcoin stocks, like, you know, all the stuff, man. I even share my trades on there. I'm in the market every day. I share that on there too. So, but yeah, make sure you go to blackwealthrebels.com and
You,
sign up for that.
you said a
You know,
free tier? Is there a paid tier too?
so we do have a paid tier. So it's a Patreon. We create a lot of content. But the thing about the folks that have the paid tier, they get extra classes, right? So we not just from us, but like, you know, kind of like stuff that I curate from other people that I know. So the thing is, I look for people that are community minded, not just people out here trying to run the play per se. You know what I'm saying? But we create a lot of content. You know, not all serious. We talk about our personal lives and all that, but we, you know, that's kind of what the idea was. It's culturally relevant, but you know, and we do share trades. And it's funny because every Sunday we get on and talk about what we're going to do in the market during the course of the week. We have what we call Sunday Playbook. We talk about the trades we're going to make. And I even share my day trades because I trade SPY pretty much every day. So I share all that in there. But it's blackwealthrebels.com.
Okay, blackwealthrebels.com. And I only brought up the non-paid one. I mean the paid one because people got money for all the bull crap, all the extra stuff, and it's like, yo, make the investment, get your money's worth. Like, yo,
Here's what I say, man. The thing is, we give away so much that what happens is people come for the free one. They get the paid one anyway because, like, for instance, I did a SPY trade today. I ran puts on SPY yesterday and today, and some folks made thousands of dollars. So it was like our paid tier is like $14. It's like, yo, people's like, I'm just gonna pay for the year because it's worth it. Yeah, I mean, so for me, I'm not worried about it. Only reason that we really charge is for the infrastructure of everything that we do.
mm-hmm.
It's not really like a thing that I'm looking to make a bunch of money on, but you know, there is cost in running it the way we run it. So that's all it is to cover those costs, man. So, you know, look, Marlon said it right there. Taught him how to chart the market, and and this stuff like that, comments like that, are really why we do it, man. So, Marlon, I appreciate you saying that. You know, but that's what it is. But it's blackwealthrebels.com, man.
Let's go. Let's go. All right, Marlon, you next up.
Nice.
Next up.
All right, man.
Man,
I appreciate you, Ali, man. Anytime, bro. Anytime you need me, I'm here, bro.
for sure, Jimmy. Man, have a good one, man. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays to you and the family, man. Appreciate y'all, man.
Thank you, man. Have a good one.
All right, peace.